should I join a team or should I stay as a solo real estate agent? And so we're going to bring up a bunch of different things to consider so that someone that's thinking about this, hopefully Tucker, will walk away with some clarity. And I've got a really cool exercise that we walk our coaching clients through to like how to approach a major decision like this that maybe I think the audience will find helpful. And we'll walk them through that here in just a few minutes. Fair?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I got a couple of questions that I think that I'd like to start off with to help someone in this situation really get clear on this. The first question is, when you're looking at, okay, do I want to build this thing on my own or should I partner or join a team? The first question is, where am I going to be the most happy? No one even thinks about this question. What I mean by that is this, Tucker, is real estate, it can be very lonely. It's really easy for people to resent their real estate business because it can suck the life out of you real quick. The fact that you're always on and you're working so much, that quickly you can say, wow, how quickly I went from excitement and joy about building this real estate business to what have I done? Did I do the right thing? And so the question is, where are you most happy? Are you most happy? Here's what I mean by this specifically. Are you most happy being the practitioner, or are you the most happy running a business? Because here's what I look at. This is the question. Being a solo agent is owning and operating your own company, and being on a team is sort of like an employee. And so the question is, where are you the most happy? Do you want to just do your thing, make your money, go home, shut off at night, hang out with your friends, your family, and do your thing? Great. Or do you thrive on always having to be on? And you like all facets of the business: client service, client acquisition, client problems, changing the light bulb, buying the coffee, all the things that come with entrepreneurship. So where are you going to be the most happy? I think will really determine whether joining a team is for you or not. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I completely agree. Me, I really enjoy my personal time. Like if I go on vacation, don't bother me. That's why I'm on vacation. So my nights and my weekends, I enjoy my nights and my weekends. I want to be with my kids, I want to be with my wife. Don't bother me. When you're starting out and you're running your own business, too bad. Like you're kind of at the whim of whatever happens to come your way. It is like you're a doctor who's on call all the time, except for instead of saving lives, we are selling houses instead.
That's right. The next question is, where are you going to net the most money? Not make the most money. Where are you going to net the most money? This is the huge problem because ego gets in the way. E-G-O, ego. And so what I mean by this is probably one of the biggest hiccups for people on whether or not I should go solo or on a team is the commission split. And so they look at this hypothetical commission split and they say, well, geez, and I'm not advocating for one or the other, by the way. I'm just giving people something to consider. It's like, what is the evidence of what you're making by yourself? Like, do you have any proof of what you can earn by yourself, building this thing on your own? And then what is the evidence of someone who is on said team? What is it that they're earning? And I want to look at the evidence because everyone's really, really, really good at pretending they've got a crystal ball, right? And like hypothetically, it's like, well, this isn't hypothetical. Like there's one argument, Tucker, that an agent by themselves who says, okay, I made $150,000. And I said, okay, show me your tax return. Show me all the expenses. What did you net on your 150? Versus maybe someone who's on a team and what they net. And we just have to look at those two things, right? And it's like, after expenses, after splits, et cetera, Where do you end up when you remove the ego? What are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, you have to look at everything, right? We've talked about this before. It's not about how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And so you got your taxes and your expenses that go into that. So if I'm on my own, I'm paying for everything, right? No one is paying for my CRM. No one's paying for my leads. No one is paying for my dialer or my email or anything else. It is all on me. Versus if I'm on a team, there might be someone else who's saying like, hey, we're going to take a little bit of your commissions of your split, but we're also going to provide you X, Y, and Z to help you get the job done. So as long as you're performing, we'll keep you on this team. And so you just have to fully evaluate, what's your top line and your bottom line in order to figure out, which route is going to be better for you to go down. Which team should you join? Should you join a team at all? You have to consider all those things.
Well, let me bring up something really important to this conversation, because if I'm watching and listening to us, I'm saying, dude, are you telling me that if I sold 20 houses by myself and I sold 20 houses on the team, that potentially I would make more on the team? No, listen closely.
Yep.
Here's what I'm saying is, when I say where are you going to net the most money, under which environment, will you actually sell more homes? What I'm saying is this, to be really, really clear, that when you look at the per agent productivity, would you sell more homes by yourself, or will you sell more homes on a team as you're newer? And that's what we're asking. So yeah, if let's just say you're on an 80-20 split and you cap out at 15K and you don't have a lot of expenses, but you only can sell 8 houses by yourself, versus if you're on a team, call it a 50-50 split, but you sell 40 houses as a result of everything the team does for you.
Yep.
Where are you going to net the most money? That's what I'm talking about. Because the next question I want to talk about is that correlates to this is, can you be trusted? In other words, do you have evidence that you will do the work on your own?
That's deep. Yeah.
That is the question. That is the problem with the industry. If you remove all the BS and all the rhetoric and all the crap, it's, can this human being be in business for themselves or an independent contractor, and can they show up for themselves the same way they would show up if they were working at a W-2 job? And the vast majority of people, don't get mad, cannot do that. They just cannot show up and be consistent. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, Brandon, I was just going to add to this. So I talk to about 10 agents per day, sometimes more, sometimes less, but around 10 agents per day about what it's going to take to get them to where they want to go. So this is beyond just even a team or being a solo agent. This is just this industry. And so one of the questions I ask them is, if they were to start working with us, if we tell you what to do, when to do it, why to do it, when to follow something, that's the easy stuff, right? If we tell you to do that stuff, are you actually going to do it, right? Everybody says yes. Yeah, of course, I'm in. I'm like, okay, just hold on just a second. I've never once ever, and Brandon, I'm sure it's the same case for you. I've never, ever, ever talked to someone who said, I want to make less money. How can you help me do that? Every single agent, they get into real estate because they watch a couple episodes of Selling Sunset and they're like, oh, these people are making a lot of money. I'd like to take down millions of dollars in houses. Or they just see real estate in general. Everyone gets in because they want to make more money, right? They want to take some ownership. They want to make more money. But so few actually do. And why is that? It's because it's hard. What we do, you have to have a certain level of discomfort where you are now in order to push through the pain that it takes to get to where you want to go. And if you aren't already uncomfortable, there's no way you're going to go through the pain and the discomfort to do what it takes to hit your financial goals and to do what it takes to actually get there. So to your point, most people, everybody wants to make more money. Most people just don't, because they aren't willing to put themselves through the pain and the hard work and the grit to actually get there. And so if, solo or team aside, if you're not willing to put yourself through that, you got to ask yourself, like, am I actually, am I actually cut out for this? You just have to be uncomfortable enough to do it.
That's right. I mean, you're talking about, again, this is the heart of the problem of our industry is can you be trusted enough to be in this business? It's no different than everyone wanting to look good and feel good, but very, 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 very rarely do you find someone who's in good shape. It's super rare.
Yeah.
This is the same thing, right? Everybody wants to get into real estate to make a lot of money. It's super rare to find people that actually do. And
Yep.
that's because it's a business for self-starters. That's who thrives in this business. And most humans, left to their own, will choose the path of least resistance. So here's what happens. People flock to the industry by the droves, by the tens of thousands, chasing the dream of working for myself and unlimited income, et cetera, et cetera. And then they leave this world of like rigid accountability and rules at this job, right? Like hard guardrails that if you didn't follow this, you were going to lose your job. And they behaved very well. Then they got out of that world of rigidness and they got into this world of I work for myself, and all hell breaks loose. Everything falls apart. The very thing that drove them to get into this business drives them out of the business. And so let's get very clear that if you are not the type of person who can show up and put in the grit that you're talking about, you probably belong on a team, because a team provides an environment, some structure, some guidelines that, again, most humans, it's not bad. Nothing's wrong with you. But for most humans, we operate much better when we're in a world with structure and guidance and monkey see, monkey do. When everybody's doing the same thing, it's easier for me to fall in line and do the same thing. But when it's by myself, you're not going to do the push-up the same way you will when the trainer is right over your shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point too, I mean, it is just like anything else. You could have some crazy results in the gym. If you want to get jacked, like you could have some crazy results in the gym if you sleep, you eat well, you train hard, take your supplements, you hire a trainer or a coach to help you out, right? Maybe you have some buddies that go to the gym with you to help keep you accountable. But you can have some crazy results if you do that. Or you can do what most people do. You have one foot in, one foot out. You go to the gym, you work hard, but then when you get home, your diet looks like trash, and you stay up late playing video games and drinking beer. Like it's the two worlds don't align.
That's
So
right.
having that, like you said, have that extra layer of structure and accountability and guidance is going to help you move the needle in the right direction.
Yeah. And the thing is, Tucker, just most people who maybe saw the title of this video or think about this idea, they always think about it in terms of what is the split and what am I getting for the split? And they're trying to base their decision on that, on whether or not I should stay by myself or join a team. And I just want to stress the point that if that's what you're thinking, or if that's your line of thinking on making this decision, both are wrong. Staying the same for what you're thinking is wrong, or joining a team for that is also wrong. You have to look at these first couple of questions that we posed. And I truly mean that. Like, under which environment will you behave? In which environment will you be the best human? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Are you the type of person who is a self-starter who can wake up and do it on your own? Great. You can make a case for building this on your own. If you are being super honest and you have no ego and you're like, dude, I can never prospect on my own. Like I know myself. I wake up and I just don't do it. Then there's a case for you to be in a world, in an environment where there are some guardrails, there is some structure. And so that might make sense for you. Now, with all of that said, I want to bring up one more concept and we'll get into the weeds of this thing. All right. I want to talk about the book E-Myth. It's probably one of the greatest business books on the planet. The book is about the woman who makes amazing cookies. I'm sure the audience has read it. If you haven't, it's a great book. And then she goes and opens a bakery. And again, all hell breaks loose. You see, on one hand, she's a great practitioner, Tucker. She makes the best cookies on the planet. So logically in her head, she said, it only makes sense for me to open a cookie store. Little did she know, after opening the cookie store, all that comes with running a business, making cookies was the last thing on her mind. She was running around with leases and building and this and that. And she said, I thought I was in the cookie making business. Nope. There's so much more to it. What's my point? My point is, if you're looking at this idea between solo versus team, there's a case to be made that if you're like, you just love being a salesperson and you don't want to deal with any of the other crap that comes with being a real estate agent, and all you want to do is go there, prospect, set appointments, take listings, and go home, and you just want to bake cookies because you make real good cookies, maybe you should be on a team because of all the other stuff, because now we introduce creative avoidance. Most agents that are by themselves tell us all the things that keep them from doing the main thing, which is baking cookies. And in our world, it's prospecting. Well, I can't prospect because I'm doing my logo. I can't prospect because I'm doing my website. I can't prospect because this, all these other things of running a business are getting in the way of doing the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually funny that you brought that up because in a past life, I was a personal trainer. I wanted to be a personal trainer and a health coach as my career. I went to school for nutrition and now I'm selling houses. How did I get there? I realized that I love working out. I love fitness. And so naturally, I should just teach other people the things that I know about health and fitness. I hated it. I hated it so much. It was one of those things that this needs to stay a hobby for me. And I won't get into all the reasons why, but it's just, it was that idea of just like, okay, I'm not just working out with my friends anymore, doing what I think I like. It's completely different. It is running a business. And I just realized in that industry, I was like, this needs to stay a hobby. And I think
Great point.
you're not in the with your analogy, you're not in the cookie business, you are in the business. You are just now running a business. And so, like you said, if you're not par for or you're not on board with running and building a business, then yeah, team's a better fit.
Yeah, and we're not going to get in. We'll make a different episode of like what we mean by a business, but like there are some core fundamentals of running a business that every time most of the time when agents reach out and they want to talk about coaching with us, I just ask them a couple simple, like basic business questions that they're unable to produce. Like, what is your operating profit margin? No idea. And I'm thinking that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about just running a business, it's like, these are simple, elementary that any business owner knows. And if you don't, there's just a case for you not to be running your own business yet, until you start to build some of these maturities,
Yeah. Or it's like we're talking with people and it's like, how many contacts per day are you hitting? And they're like, oh, I don't know.
I know.
It really is just a shrug. How many transactions have you done this year? Oh, maybe like 4, 6, something like that. I'm like, okay, well, was it 4? Is it 6? And like, oh,
so true.
I don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? How are you managing your bank account if you don't know? Like,
I know. It's amazing.
It's wild. Yeah.
It's wild. All right, let's talk about the other big thing. So we're going to talk about commission splits. We're going to talk about leads. All right, so these are the two things with this conversation. All right, so let's talk about leads first. Again, I am not advocating for either one. I'm just bringing things up to consider. If you are communicating with somebody who's trying to recruit you to their team, or you're having conversations with the team leader, you have to find this out. What is their lead generation model? Meaning this, if their lead generation model is simply team leader Bob is giving his credit card to company X for internet leads that are 99% buyers, then you could do that. Like if that's the lead generation model that you think, man, I need leads, and the team leader is like screaming from the mountaintops with his marketing, we give you all your leads, don't ever worry about leads again. And what they mean by that is, hey, we give our credit card to company X every month, and we spend X amount of dollars per month and you're going to get these leads, well, you could do that. I don't think there's a ton of value in that model if that is the value exchange. If the value exchange between you and said team leader is, well, the only thing between us, the value that's happening is they have my American Express on file, not yours. I don't know about that. What do you think?
Exactly. And it's not even just limited to that. I mean, there's 1.5 million ways to generate leads, right? So there are a lot of teams out there who do exceptionally well at cranking out leads. What we're saying is you have to go interview them and find out. This is one of the reasons why I got off of a team is because I joined a team because I had a friend on it. That was basically the interview process. I should have done more due diligence. Around Christmas time, our lead generation strategy was Tucker, you're going to dress up as Santa Claus and go to the local grocery store, and kids are going to sit on your lap and you're going to capture leads that way. And I was like,
No.
thank God I was in North Carolina and not in Texas when that happened, because I swear, had they made me do that, I would have quit on the spot. Like I would have been, nope, I'm out. I did make the decision that I'm leaving this team because I clearly have no idea what they're doing. That's
You're
when I
kidding
decided
right
I'm
now.
out of here. No, I'm dead serious. They wanted to do the same thing at Easter too.
They
And
wanted
so,
you to dress up as the Easter Bunny.
yes, yes, I'm at the local HEB, which is our grocery store. They wanted me to dress up as Santa Claus and as the Easter Bunny, and people would come in. And so, Brandon, I'm not kidding you. It was months of planning and finding the right people. They spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this. One lead, one lead. All that time, energy, and money spent on it. They got one lead out of it. And so I remember they asked us to come to this meeting each with one lead generation strategy of what we would do. That
Sure.
was the one that we landed on. You know what mine was? Why don't we just pick up the phone and call people?
We can't do that. What are you talking about? What do you mean? No, we got to go be the Easter Bunny at the grocery store.
Yeah, because they saw that I was generating leads, and they're like, okay, well, yeah, that works for you, but that doesn't work for everyone. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm a first year agent, and I'm the second in the entire brokerage right now. Like something's working, but they're like, no,
Unbelievable.
no, we're gonna do this as a team, and you need to participate. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna be in North Carolina, so sorry, I really wish I could, but I can't. No, Brandon,
Unbelievable. It's crazy.
that was the strategy. That was the strategy we landed on.
Insane. Insane. So the model in which if you're interviewing teams, I mean, that's just, you never told me that, but is my belief is that we talked about culture and environment being like the most important thing, that the real value of a team is this group of people, this environment that pushes greatness, that expects greatness, that expects you to come in and become the best version of yourself. And when we look at client acquisition or lead generation, is they not only teach you how to do it for yourselves, but they hold you accountable at the highest level to do it. And so maybe in the beginning, it's the company who is helping to generate listing opportunities on your behalf through maybe an ISA department, perhaps, or they bring you in an environment where they teach you how to actually generate listing opportunities for yourself. Because that's the other thing. This is BS crap around teams saying, well, you're going to start you off as a buyer's agent. It's like, dude, if you could wave a wand, it's like, why would you get into this business and willing and volunteer not focusing on the best part of the business, which is listings. Right. But team leaders have this Wizard of Oz power over agents that don't know any better. It's like they know better. They know it's like, dude, you don't want anything to do with the buyer business, so we'll have the dumb new guy that doesn't know any better. We'll have him do all the buyers. We'll call him a buyer specialist. And then we'll have all the top seasoned, the people that make all the money, be our listing agents. Don't tell Bob. He doesn't fucking know any better. But like, we'll just take advantage of the new guy. It happens all the time, and it pisses me off. Yeah.
No, I was just laughing because that happened to me. That was exactly what happened to me. I remember that, and so again, everything we've said before, if you want to know if you're solo or team, it's a hard look in the mirror. Are you the kind of person that is self-starter, going to go get it, put in the work? That is me. I don't take direction very well either. And so I didn't want to be on a team. But while I was on a team, that's exactly what happened was I started cold calling people. I come to the table and I say, I have a listing opportunity. I don't know what to do with my hands yet. And you and I had just barely started working together at that point. And they're like, what are you doing with listings? Like they're almost mad at me for
Crazy.
having a listing. And I was just like, we're here. So what do we do now? And if they did let me take a listing, but basically they were, and it got sold. So they're happy about it. And they were happy about it. But in the moment, I could tell they were like, no, you're only supposed to be working buyers. I'm like, I don't want one, I don't want to wait for buyers to come in. And then two, like, I don't want to just sit here off of the Zillow leads and the other leads that you're generating that also go out to 3 dozen other agents in our market. And it's just like, who gets to the person first? I don't want to do that. I want to generate my own leads. I want to be in command of my business. And it's like they're upset with me for doing that, for making the brokerage or making the team money. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like
Well,
if
I'll tell you what's happening. I'll tell you what's happening. And this is a different topic, but it's most team leaders, it's their ego and their insecurity
yeah,
battling each other. That's what's going
yeah,
on. Is you have these most team leaders, they'll never admit it, of course. It's not going to they have no incentive to admit this. But most of them are looking to say, okay, it's unfortunate. There's some great team leaders out there too, but there's a lot that try to just take advantage of agents that don't know any better. Like
yeah,
their whole model is bring in new agents that don't know the business at all so that we can get away with things that we would never be able to get away with agents that actually had experience. I mean, that's how they build their team with agents that just don't know what they don't know. They don't know any better. And that's why the shelf life of most people on a team is like 16 months. They say, oh, I kind of get this thing now. And they have the real Wizard of Oz moment where they pull back the curtain and the wizard is this short little 4-foot man. It's not this huge, powerful dude. And they're like, and they have this source of truth. I used to talk about it all the time. That Wizard of Oz moment, the second that agent figures out, oh my gosh, I thought there was a lot more to this, they're off the team.
yeah.
And so, yeah,
I was just gonna say I like you're just I'm like just having this moment of self reflection because everything you're saying is exactly what happened to me. I remember, so I'm bringing this listing in, and I'm like I don't understand why I wouldn't go ahead and start working listings. Like if that's where the leverage is, if that's where the opportunity is, do I want to start? Do you want me to start doing that 3 years in, or do you want me to start doing that now? And granted, you're talking about the ego. The words that my team lead said to me, she goes, Tucker, I'm a $10 million a year agent. I know what I'm doing. And so like at the time I was like, wow, $10 million. That's a lot. And then like come to find out after I was in the business for 2 months, I was like, oh, 10 million, that's pretty like
average.
I'm like, you've been in the business for 6 years, like you should be doing at least
Mm-hmm.
10 million. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just kind of but at the time, as a new ignorant agent who has no idea what even like a broker cap is or anything like that, I'm just like, wow, you really do know what you're doing. Will you actually come with a listing for me? Better yet, like want to just put your name on my listing. And so it's just like, and again, like let's go back to this point. We're not saying that teams are bad, right? It's just you got to do your due diligence on which teams are bad, which teams are good. It's just like anything else. There's some good ones, there's some bad ones. Make sure you do your due diligence because had I been the kind of person who would be better on a team, like I would have been in a horrible, horrible environment that
Yeah.
I should have never been in.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're not advocating for one or the other. I mean, if anything, if you listen to this entire podcast, we've been going for almost a half hour. It's like I've made more cases for joining a team versus not. I'm just trying to be equal on both sides, right? So,
Yeah.
so when it comes to client acquisition and lead generation, you've got to get really, really clear on what we provide leads means. Like you got to get really, really clear on what that means. Now, let's talk about the money. So let's talk about splits to keep this conversation moving forward. Again, this is about a net income, okay? This is the same thing when we train a listing agent, I coach a listing agent, we teach them how to have conversations with sellers around their net offer, right? Not just the top line offer. So again, don't get caught up in a commission split because it's like 100% of nothing is still nothing. You know what I mean? So you have to really look at this objectively, remove the emotion and say, okay, what works really well is, well, how much are you selling by yourself right now? Be honest. What do you make by yourself? And say, okay, I'm just making this up. If by yourself, the only evidence we have to go off of is what you have done, not what you will do. Don't even get me started on this fallacy. Like the whole what I think I can do in the future conversation. You probably know what I mean. Exactly what I mean. Most realtors have it. They're all guilty of it. It's like, well, I could be doing this in the future. And that makes them make bad decisions today. Anyways, I don't want to get started on that. But if an agent has, it's like, what have you done? Not what you think you'll do. What people do is proof of what they believe, not what they say, right? So because of that, it's like, okay, you've sold 6 houses. So it's not good. It's not bad. It's the truth. You sold 6.
Right.
I would go, and as I'm interviewing the team leader, or as I'm having conversations, I say, okay, what is what's called your per person productivity? What is it? Not what you think I can do based on this meeting. What is your actual stat? And what we're looking for is to say, okay, if I'm selling 6 on my own and the average per person productivity on this team, average, not the best, not the worst, is 22, let's just say. Then I have to say, okay, let me just build a model off selling 6 on my own or 22 with the team. And then I can kind of look at and say, okay, based on, let's just say the split that the team has is 50-50 versus your split with your current company, I'm just making this up, is 80-20. It's like, where do you shake out? Where do you shake out better? And then on the team, which level of support do they offer? In other words, if you sold 22 homes and all you were having to do was go on the listing appointment and take the contract, bring the contract back, and they've got a full listing department. They've got a full transaction management department. They've got a full closing coordination department. Where you didn't have to worry about all the stuff of the transaction, the minutia, the drama of the transaction. And someone else will work on servicing the client until closing, and you just show up at the closing. Okay. Versus you having to do everything and get into the minutia and the weeds and the drama of the transaction. And all you have to do is sell on one side. You got to look at all of these things. Did the team help you to generate the lead? Did they help you convert the lead? Did they help you service the client throughout the transaction in exchange for a 50-50 partnership? Where at the end of the day, if I sell 22 homes and it's actually less work to sell 22 homes than it is to sell 6 on my own, and I net more money, perhaps that's a better world for you. You got to look at those things. What are your thoughts on that framework?
No, I mean, I've been kind of railing against my former team that I was on. If I had been on a team where I can go out there and all I have to do is go bake the cookies, right? I'm very good. I'm not gonna be shy about it. I'm very good at selling and marketing myself. If all I had to do was go out there, collect a contract, hand it off to someone, and then all I need to do is check in with my clients on a weekly basis, and then see y'all at the closing table, I would have been on that team all day, every day. Instead, I was on my own and I had to go find a transaction coordinator. I had to find a listing coordinator. I had to find a part-time assistant. I had to mess up in front of my clients time and time again. I had to, basically have people remind me when to do certain things. I wouldn't have to have gone through all that. I could have just been on a team and had someone like basically a fully built out assistant team to help me do that. And all I had to do was just learn how to generate the business.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so, I've always told the story of like how I ran my team, which is exactly what you said, is I could bring on a sales guy like you, an absolute killer, and say, dude, all you have to do is go take listings. We'll cook it. We'll prepare it. We'll take care of the client. We'll let you know when the closing is. And all you have to do is prospect and go get the listing. We'll do all your social media. We'll do all your client events on your behalf. We'll take care of your clients. We'll market to your database, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're in business together in a 50-50 partnership. It's like, you go do all that. I'm going to do all that. So it's a clear, what I call exchange of value, because where the lines get blurred is when the agent says, why they get a commission check, they get a $10,000 check, and they say, I only get $4,200 of this thing. Why? If they're asking why, it's just a matter of time before that relationship is over. But if it's like, dude, you're on this 50-50, it's like, dude, I would pay more than that. I'd be willing to pay more than that for this relationship. It's that valuable. You've got to look at that.
Yeah, even as you were just going through that, I was just thinking about in my head. I'm like, I would have, I was with EXP or 80-20 split, 16K cap, but it's all on me. I got to do everything. If I get a listing and I want to leverage that listing, I've got to run the ads. I've got to do the direct mail. I've got to do the social media. I've got to do all that stuff. I got to run the open house. But if you, as my team lead, were to come to me and say, hey, we're going to be on a 50-50 split, these are all the things that you're going to get. We're going to do your social media. We're going to run the open house for you. We're going to set it all up for you. We're going to do all the coordination for you. I would have said, okay, cool. Like I'm already putting myself on a 50-50 split because I've got 50% I'm keeping for myself, and the other 50% goes towards just my normal broker split. But then I'm spending down everything else and just like some expenses and extra marketing to try and leverage that listing for additional listings. So if you're going to tell me that you're going to do it all for me and I don't even have to think about it, and it's just not taking up the headspace and the time on my calendar, yeah, I'm going to do that all day.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let me show the audience what I promised I'd show them. And this little exercise I think is really, really helpful when people see the framework for the first time. It's like, here's how I look at this. So that you can make better business decisions and you're not making your business decisions off of emotion. You're making your business decisions because there's a business case to be made as to why you're making the decision. Here's the framework that I teach. We say, okay, it's solo versus team. What do I do? Okay, so we remove the emotion. We say, okay, we've got two sides of the quadrant, Tucker. We've got the upside and we've got the downside to the quadrant. And so what we're going to do is objectively, we're going to make arguments on every side of this thing. We're going to say, okay, what is the upside of joining the team? And you're going to label them out. This. All right, cool. Well, what is the upside to staying solo? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, it'll be better here. I'll be better off here, and here, etc. Right? And maybe it's here. Then you go to the downside quadrant. What is the downside to joining the team? Well, there's three things I can think of. What is the downside to staying solo? And you start to come up with these things. And what ends up happening is when an agent kind of goes through this framework, the decision starts to become more clear and more clear and more clear. Because what oftentimes people do is whatever side they're on, the grass always looks greener on the other side, as they say. And so if they're on a team, they always find it easy to make the argument for why they should leave. And then if they're solo, right, they kind of do the same thing. It's like you're always making opposing arguments to make the other thing look better than it is. It's like you have to have arguments for and against. You have to have arguments for the change and arguments for staying the same. And then you have to have opposing arguments for both of those as well. I don't know about you, but in my career, this framework has helped me get so much clarity.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're making a pros and cons list. I do this when I'm making, just regular basic decisions. If I need to buy a new car or I'm making big purchase decisions, anything like that. Perfect example. Me and Carly, my wife, we're having a baby in like 3 weeks. So, we've got some things. Babies are expensive. We got a lot of big purchases, a lot of things we got to buy. And so we're just making pros and cons list about what are the best decisions to make. You should be doing this kind of stuff even outside of joining a team or not. Getting it in writing where you can objectively see how to make a decision, that's going to be a huge valuable lesson for you to take anywhere you go.
Yes, but the thing I'll add to this exercise that maybe, I don't know, maybe someone missed is it's different than a pros and cons list, because the pros and cons list is only creating arguments for and against the change, the new purchase, the new decision. What this framework does that I just outlined, it also does the same thing for your current world. And so in business, right? So it's like, all right, you could do this with anything. That's why it's so powerful. There's four, there's not two. It's not pros and cons. It's pros and cons for change, pros and cons for staying the same. So you
Yep.
might have make
Yeah.
sure you have the other two. Anyway, it's semantics. I'm getting in the weeds of it, but I think it's important because people only love to argue the one side of the thing. You know, I'm going to make a pros and cons list of buying the new car. Well, how about making a pros and cons list for keeping your current car?
Yeah. 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 No, I
That's the
mean,
point.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's like change brokerage, not change brokerage. Okay, make a pros and cons. Don't just make a pros and cons list for going to the brokerage. Do the same thing for staying at the current brokerage. That makes things equal, and that allows you to have like a level-headedness to making a business decision. So it's not just all emotion. Most people in business, and we always know this, people don't have business issues. They have personal issues that show up in their business. And so they run their business the same way they run their life, which is just all emotion. So it's like, oh, my broker pissed me off, so I'm joining this team. And then a week goes by. It's like, what in the world was I thinking? Now I got to go change back to the brokerage because it was such an emotional decision. I got to go redo all my, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like keeping the emotion out of it. That'd be the last part that I want to leave with the audience today is I don't know if there's a right or wrong decision. You said this before we even hit recording. It's to take all 45 minutes of this conversation and consider it all. Consider everything we just talked about. It's not just, you're not just chasing a commission split. You're not just chasing leads. You know, you're looking at the whole picture of the environment, of the leader. Who is this person leading you? Is that leader someone you aspire to be like? If no, it's like, dude, well, I don't know why you would follow someone you don't want to be like, you know? Any last thoughts that people can walk away with from your side, Tucker, that might be watching the show?
I would say like at the end of the day, if you've made it this far, 45 minutes into this, you're wrestling with to join a team or not. The biggest thing, it's going to require you to look in the mirror and take a self-assessment of just where do you feel like you belong best. Make that pros and cons list of staying the same or changing the upside and downside both. Take a hard look in the mirror and just be honest with yourself. Do you ever see yourself leading a team? Are you just a person who likes to bake the cookies? You know, take everything into account and make the decision for yourself, but you have to be honest with yourself.